live from parts unknown. You're listening to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast on the planet, we think. Sit back, relax, prepare for positivity to run through your veins as Simon Miller gives you your weekly dose of powerful pro wrestling audio. It is Miller Time.
Hello and welcome to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Show. Finally getting back into the thick of things. Thank you very much for joining me. And if you just stumbled across this, thank you very much for joining me for the first time. This is how it all works. Most people know this, but I'll remind you just in case you don't. Well, obviously, we've done a few episodes this week, which I know, went up on the feed all at once, but I'm still getting back into the routine. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't even worry about it. And part of that routine is we definitely get patrons on the podcast, on the show, because it's just good to talk to people about wrestling. You get different opinions, you get different thoughts. You can do that as well, should you so wish. Head on over to patreon.com/Simon Miller 316, and you'll see a ton of options there, a ton of rewards, one of which is coming on. Check it out if you want. If you don't worry about it. And today, it's a man we've had on before, a man that always has interesting opinions. It's my man, Rafal. Rafal, how you doing today? You all right?
Yep, doing great. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, dude. I'm good. I'll apologize to Rafal. I'll do this on a lot of the Patreon podcasts, but he is one of the very kind people that was very patient with me when I couldn't get these done. So thank you very much for that, my friend. I appreciate it. Let's turn the clock back a little bit because we were meant to chat a few weeks ago because you were lucky enough to head over to SummerSlam. Which meant you saw the debut of The Fiend live. And, The Fiend right now, as we said on the show a couple of days ago, has utterly dominated WWE. And given his position in Hell in a Cell, it sounds like he's going to be doing that for a while. Just run me through it, man. Run me through the event. Again, I know it's back in August, but I still think it's a seminal moment for many people because there was a big question beforehand, how they're going to present this character, how is it going to react with the crowd? And clearly now we can look back and go, well, it did pretty well because everyone's going crazy about him.
Yeah, it was like absolutely crazy. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like the whole night. I think everybody was just waiting for that. They did it as the second last match right before the Universal title match. But everybody like around me, everybody was just anticipating. And then when Finn Balor came out and the lights just turned off, it was absolutely crazy. I do think when I watched it back, it's a way better like presentation on TV just because how their like camera work is and all of that. But being in the arena, it was especially for his first time doing his entrance and new music, everything with the lantern. It was absolutely crazy.
So do you think, I'm not going to say it worked better on TV. I mean, how was it live? So you watched it on TV afterwards, but how was it when you were like, were you there? When it's coming out, did you sort of, did you get a buzz? Did you feel?
You like I'm saying like the presentation wise, because when you're looking like at a live crowd, obviously you just see him walking to the ring from the ramp. But when they were doing it on film, they were like using different camera angles. You couldn't really see where he was walking, where he is. And then even after the match, like us in the crowd, we could see him like basically sprint to the top of the ramp before when the lights were off, and then he looks back and then it's just his face. Obviously that looks better on camera, but in the arena it was weird because before he came out, like I said, everybody was just anticipating it, and it was like he got a huge pop and everybody was saying to let him in or let me in, whatever it said on the crowd, like on the screen everybody was repeating it. But during the match it was so different than any other match like that I've ever seen live. It was quiet, but it was quiet in a good way. It was just like people are just like paying so much attention to it. They don't really know how to react. There was this Yowie Wowie chant, which was great during the match. But for the duration of the match, it was just like everybody was so focused on it. And even like there was no like "this is awesome" chants or like, and it was a pretty good crowd too. But you could see like after the match had finished and you just saw Finn Balor like laying in the ring, then everybody just started chanting "that was awesome." Like, what just happened? Because it was like such a big moment that everybody was just focused on it. And like I haven't seen The Undertaker live, and obviously that's my favorite of all time. Man, yeah. But from I've been to like like 6 or 7 live shows, WWE, and obviously I've been on one AEW show. Like, it's completely different than anything I've ever seen. And it was like, being in the crowd was amazing, but I would say like if you're gonna, like, after months and months, if it's better to just watch it on TV, because they're like, everybody knows WWE's like presentation and their video packages and everything they do in that is just like absolutely amazing.
What did you think of the Bray Wyatt head for a lantern? Because that seemed to cause some controversy. And I know he's been coming out of house shows with his normal lantern, and now there is some worry that maybe, sponsor pressure, whatever, has made WWE reconsider that. I thought that was the best part of the whole presentation, like you say. And I think if we take that away, especially with the fact that AEW is going to be TV-14, which means, you get a bit more adult content, I think that would be really, really, I think it would just suck.
Yeah. So that's another thing. When I saw him coming to the ring, all I saw was just a lantern in his hand. I couldn't really see what it was.
Okay.
But obviously I just like went on Twitter like right after the match, and I saw it, and it was absolutely crazy. And I think SummerSlam was actually TV-14, and there was no blood. There was no like there was no like other content. I think it was just like specifically it might have been for that, because if you look throughout the thing, there was nothing that's any different than a regular WWE show. So personally, I think they should keep it. And I think Bray did have a tweet a couple months or like a month back when he said that nothing is changing and you guys are just like overreacting or whatever. And the thing is, I don't know if like it's a house show, right? So I don't think it really like they really care that much. Like, I don't think it's that special. Like, a regular lantern is fine. I feel like on Sunday we'll actually, when he makes another entrance, then we'll definitely then we'll actually know.
What do you want? What do we do with him at Hell in a Cell? Because I mean, I haven't seen anybody say they want Seth Rollins to win. I haven't seen anybody saying they want, basically everyone is saying they want Wyatt to walk away with the Universal title, but there is this feeling in the air that potentially that's not going to happen, especially because now they've introduced Braun Strowman in proceedings, right? That's an easy out should you wish to take that, and that worries me because the combination of doing that and with everything else that's going on, especially next week, I think it's really gonna sort of upset a few people that want to buy into this but don't know. They're worried about trusting WWE in case it doesn't happen. But give me your take on it, man. You certainly sound up on the character like most people are. Do you care if Seth Rollins loses? Do you care if he win? I guess is a more important way to take it, because I think he has to.
I think like 100%. Like, there's no discussion. It can't be a screwy finish. It can't be anything. Like, Bray Wyatt has to win. Like, it's because of his character, like how it is now. But even if you base it on his like previous character, it was the guy who did all the amazing promos, talked all the trash, and then he just lost the match. So it's just gonna be like, oh, it's the same. It's a different character. It's amazing, but it's the same old Bray Wyatt. They're just gonna make him lose again. And I feel like, especially since it's his first big match, because the Finn Balor match, yeah, was a big match, but everybody knew it was going to be basically a squash match, right? So I feel like he can't lose this. Now, the other two factors, I don't think this is going to happen, but if they wanted an out and didn't want him to get the title right away, they could make a quick switch on Raw, which I doubt is going to happen, but it would be like a huge moment, right? On the season premiere, like, even though it's a weekly thing, it's really stupid that it's a season premiere, but a season premiere show, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, if they somehow have Rey Mysterio win, it's going to be a big moment for them. It'll hype up some like WWE, so people are going to tune in on Fox and then tune in Hell in a Cell, and then you can still have Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt, and The Fiend can win, but he doesn't have to get the title right away.
I see what you mean. I can't in a million years see WWE putting the title on Rey Mysterio. And I've got nothing against it, but just the way that they, they approach things, that would be one of the most shocking things in years to me.
Yeah, it would be really shocking. I just think that would be a better out than having a screwy finish, because even if you think about last year, the main event of Hell in a Cell was Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, and that was Brock Lesnar came and broke the cage door, and it was how do you have a Hell in a Cell match and then it just ends? Like, there was no finish. Like, Hell in a Cell's no disqualification, no anything. Like, how do you end? And the referee didn't even do like a 10 count when they were on the floor. Like, you were just like, these guys are dead and we're just ending the match.
Oh my gosh, they did. I forgot about that. It did suck.
And that was Hell in a Cell. That was a main event. That was for the Universal title. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So
this is different as well because, you know, with those two guys and Brock, they were they were already in the position. I mean, they're pretty much all in the exact same position they were a year ago, right? Whereas the cool thing about The Fiend and Bray Wyatt is he is on an upward trend. You know, he has managed to gather this interest organically. Because let's not forget, when we started debuting these Firefly Funhouse episodes back in April, I was one of them. I was like, "What the flip is this?" You know, I wasn't against it, but you were still like, "What are we doing? What has happened? Who let Bray Wyatt do this?" As it turned out, he's a genius and he knows exactly what he was doing. But this has to be the full stop. You know, this has to be underlining, hey, look, we've heard your reactions. We've seen how you feel about him. And look, we're going to go, and this is my big thing, we're going to go in with him as well. As much as you want us to, we're going to do it. And I think that is really the key to all of this. Because if they don't, I already know because there's people that have told me, sort of fringe fans that maybe have developed more of an interest in WWE because of The Fiend, if he doesn't then get the payoff that a Seth Rollins, a Roman Reigns, a Brock Lesnar, whoever would, they're going to go, it's the same old, same old. I bought into this stuff and I didn't get the payoff that I wanted. Especially because right now, I don't think Seth Rollins is all that. Not necessarily his fault, but his character has been more interesting in the past. I think we've just got to a natural lull. That happens with anybody at some point. So, you know, to not actually look at your product and realize in which direction you need to head, to me, I would be confused, like I say, as a fan. I'd be like, why didn't you do it? What were you trying to achieve? And especially now when you brought that up, we can't just keep repeating the same stuff year in. Well, we can, but we shouldn't be. We should be trying to come up with new and exciting things that make the product and make WWE feel like it's evolving. And that's doubly more important because of everything going down next week. SmackDown moves, NXT, AEW, you know the score. And that's why, you know, I totally agree with you. I think it's the only thing we can do. And if we don't, I think we've gone nuts.
Yeah, and what you brought up earlier about the Braun Strowman thing, I think it would be smart of them to use that as a way to write him off for like 2 weeks. I would say he had that match with Rollins at Clash of Champions, which was, I thought it was a pretty good match. Like, I don't think the crowd like loved it, but I was like, what are you going to do? Seth Rollins just beat Brock Lesnar. He's not going to just drop the title right away. And Braun Strowman does have some limitations. And for his match, it was a pretty good match. And then he has the match on Raw again. And then obviously The Fiend attacks him. And it was a pretty good job with, even though he did the Manimal Claw, he still got up and then he did it again, showing that he's still a monster. I do think for Braun Strowman, he has to go to SmackDown now. Like, honestly, this should be a way where he's done for the next 2 weeks until the draft, and then he goes to SmackDown and is a monster over there. Just because if you have Braun Strowman still on Raw, it's going to be the same old thing. I think I saw this thing is like 0-5 or 0-6 or something like that for the Universal title. They build him up amazing, and then he just goes to the title, and then something happens and he loses. Yep. Maybe if you switch him over to SmackDown after a couple months, he can be the person that eventually beats Brock Lesnar. And then you could finally have a proper match, and then he can finally beat him. Because I don't know what they're going to do with SmackDown, but unless you put like Roman Reigns or something against Brock Lesnar, because I do think he's going to beat Kofi, Braun Strowman would be another good guy to eventually do that.
You mentioned Kofi. Let's talk about that. What do you envision them doing on that first episode of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar versus Kofi? Do you agree that Brock Lesnar just going to kill him and that'll be that?
Honestly, I think I said this last time I was on with you, which was a while back. I think right after the Saudi Arabia show, and after he faced Dolph Ziggler, and I did say that I don't really love Kofi as a champion, and based on his reign, I don't think it was an amazing reign.
No, I agree.
I think it did. Like, everybody would agree that it peaked at WrestleMania when he won the title against Daniel Bryan. if Daniel Bryan didn't have that like injury scare or whatever he had, maybe he would have had some another match with him. And obviously Daniel Bryan's great at building feuds. But I really didn't like his reign. The Samoa Joe stuff was okay, but we always knew Samoa Joe wasn't gonna win. Same with Ziggler. Same with Kevin Owens. And then Randy Orton was like the first guy who we were like he might actually win. And then they just ruined it at SummerSlam with a no finish, and then like a pretty boring match at Clash of Champions. So honestly, I do think Brock Lesnar should beat him. I don't know if they might go this way of saying that Brock Lesnar like catches him off guard and like beats him pretty quick. Might be a way to, even if you do it at like the beginning of the show or something like that, to get people tuned in. And then Kofi might be able to say like, oh, I wasn't like prepared or something like that. And then you might have a rematch at Hell in a Cell, which is obviously only 2 days later. You're not going to be able to build up another match, right? Like another feud. So you might have a rematch 2 days later. That's a little bit longer of a match. But I definitely do think Brock should win. And this is nothing against Kofi. I think at the Rumble last year, I've talked to you like 4 times now or something. So every time I talked to you, it's about something like this. So I think I said that Kofi should like have a chance to win like Money in the Bank, or like maybe even win the Rumble. Like I was thinking that he deserved it, and after all the work he did deserve it. But I just think like, especially on Fox when that's your A show, I don't think he can be your number 1 champion.
No, I especially not on Fox. I know people sort of get up in arms about this, but Fox was so synonymous with UFC for so long, and that's a real ticker as well, because it's much like these. Have you been paying any attention to the craziness about the AEW UK TV deals?
Yeah, I have, because in Canada either they don't have a TV
Of course they
deal,
don't.
so
Yeah, they're
really,
still exactly.
Really,
so I mean, the thing is that everyone's crapping all over the deal. Look, it's not the deal that they should have got, and it's not the best deal in the world. However, it is a deal that may actually get people that don't watch wrestling watching, and that's the thing. And that's Brock Lesnar. That's Brock Lesnar on Fox, right? If you are not a wrestling fan, but you hear that Brock Lesnar, that UFC guy, the MMA guy, I know him, I recognize his name, he's a monster. If you know that he is going to be A, on SmackDown, B, fighting for the title and potentially winning, you're probably going to watch that show. And the reason for that is because people like you and I, and most wrestling fans out there, are going to watch regardless. That's what we do. We watch it, and if we like it, great. If we don't like it, well, we stay the course anyway, because it's just the nature of the beast. So, it's I just don't. I think when you look at it from a business point of view, which I understand fans don't have to do, but when you do look at it from a business point of view, I don't see why you wouldn't make Brock Lesnar your champion, especially because, like anything in wrestling, I feel like Kofi Kingston had a good reign, not a great reign. But I wanted Randy Orton to win. I was all down for that. So, I think it's just time. And the best thing to do it is make a splash on that first episode of SmackDown, which has already got a lot of buzz, probably going to get a lot of people tuning in. And let's just be honest, I don't even think you can argue this. More people are likely to tune in the week after if Brock Lesnar is the champion, as opposed to Kofi Kingston, because Brock Lesnar is a celebrity. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Whether or not that goes down, I don't know. But I would put money on it. And
I do think you could also build a lot of like different matches when Brock Lesnar is the champion, just because, especially if you move all of your bigger stars to SmackDown, if Kofi does beat them, then it's not gonna feel like that realistic in a way. Like if Brock Lesnar is going against Roman Reigns or Braun Strowman or something, I was thinking when Bobby Lashley comes back from injury, I know he's not the most like enthusiastic guy, but I'd watch a Brock Lesnar Bobby Lashley match like that.
Oh yeah,
like that would be a pretty good match. Like I think Brock Lesnar, if he holds the title for a while, I think like starting off on Fox, I think that's like the best way to go.
No, I think so too. We'll talk about sort of the NXT and AEW stuff as well. Where are you at the moment with all of that? Obviously, NXT next week is going to go big to try and tie into everything that's going on with AEW too. I watched last week's show. I haven't watched this week's show in terms of NXT, and I thought, it was okay. And I actually thought it was quite good last week. This week sounds a bit more by the numbers. But I guess, something I do want to touch upon, you can basically watch whatever you want in the wrestling world throughout the week now. Do you know what I mean? Like you can watch Raw, SmackDown, Impact, MLW, Ring of Honor, everything. Like people know it's a crazy amount of content. I mean, let me know. Are you still pumped for AEW next month? Because I know a lot of people have actually kind of soured on the on the deal, because that's just what happens. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And while I am excited about all the content, I also sort of can see some people's points when they say, "Man, this is just gonna burn us out." And I kind of understand that. Like, it's a crazy amount of stuff. I think if anybody tries to watch all of it, which is one of the reasons, talking about what culture, people are like, "Oh, Miller, why aren't you doing NXT ups and downs?" It's like, because you'll get sick of me, but also I will get sick of wrestling very, very quickly. Something's got to give. I don't think anybody can watch everything and not, at one point be like, "Man, I don't want to watch wrestling anymore."
Yeah, no, the AEW thing is kind of confusing. Like, honestly, I think I told you this before too, that I was mostly a WWE guy. Like, I didn't pay that much attention to New Japan or Ring of Honor, or I was just interested in this. Like, it's something different. It's a different style of wrestling. Even when I went to All Out, I would say that I was one of like the least knowledgeable people there about all the people, like all the wrestlers. But I mean, I did enjoy it. I do think it's something completely different from WWE, which they're trying to go for. The thing with the TV stuff is it's just really weird, because I do think they'll get good ratings in the US because TNT is a big channel. They're going to advertise on their basketball games, on their other shows that come on. It's good for them, but obviously WWE has the power of, like, when they're showing Raw, a wrestling show, they can just advertise to the wrestling fans that 2 days later there's another show. The thing that really confuses me, and I think some people are souring on it, are all the international people. Just because, like, how don't you get this deal done, especially when you say something that you're going to have it, like, especially in the UK, I think they said that it's going to be free for UK viewers or something, and it'll be live. And then a couple of days, I mean, like months before or weeks before, you don't make any announcement. And then like a week before the show actually premieres, you're just gonna throw out something.
Yeah. And
even in Canada, there's been talks of a TV deal and all that, but like there's nothing here. Like, you guys, I don't know if the Fight TV thing was like international or just in the UK or whatever, but they haven't made any announcement here. And that's even weirder in a way, because Canada, like, we're basically in the same time zone, right? So even if you show the show live in the UK, it's probably not going to get that many ratings because it's going to be at like 1 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
We're going to be live. It's going to be the same thing as SmackDown or Raw. It's going to start at like 8 p.m. It's going to be 8 p.m. here. It's going to be like everything's going to be the same. So I don't know. I do think some people are souring on it, but if people are still that interested, I'm pretty sure it's not that hard to find somewhere online to watch it. Right?
Well, but that's the other thing as well. And the point I was trying to make, I was talking about this on Twitter yesterday, and the point I was trying to make is it's not really about when it's on. I mean, of course it's about when it's on. And obviously, I'm like anybody else. I would like it day and date and live, and, hopefully with a more reasonable time slot after the fact. But it's about how much you want to support it. That's the kind of the thing that people seem to forget. If you really want AEW to do well, and you want it to get to the point where whoever is in control of it, in this case over here, ITV, just watch it. Even if you just put it on and leave the room, but Jerry, that's how it's going to grow. And I find it a bit crazy that sometimes people are so quick to get mad, especially because the big thing over here was. It's so unfair that America's going to get it for free and we have to pay. If you use the Fight TV app, we have to pay, $4.99. Now, for starters, $4.99 is like £1 a week. It's like, I don't think you're going to miss your pound. Maybe you would. I don't want to talk on behalf of others. But also, if you live in America, you pay for TNT. It's not like it's free on television. Like it's on cable or what? I don't know the actual term. So
yeah, the only thing I would say against that is, for most people, it's just much easier that it's just included in their TV package they're just watching. And obviously, if you have, like, I think it comes on Sky in the US, WWE does. in the UK. That's you get all like you get other sporting events too. It's not just
You're right.
You're not just paying for WWE, right?
That is true.
That would be the only thing I would say.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about ratings wise, I do think in the US, I think they'll do pretty good starting off. It's basically a complete unknown what's gonna happen between NXT and AEW viewership wise, because I don't think the ratings have come out for, like, I'm pretty sure they haven't come out for yesterday, but the last week's, it was a great, I think it was 1.2 million
Pretty much,
viewers,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
pretty
amazing.
much, yeah.
Which is amazing, but obviously when you do your first show, you get a boost in ratings, and then there are going to be some of those people are AEW fans that were just watching NXT, right? So some of those people are going to watch AEW. So it's a really unknown thing.
Yeah, we need to see what the crossover is going to be, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crossover for AEW and NXT may be the exact same fans, and then what do you do? Like, how does that work? It opens up a whole other kettle of fish. But I am intrigued. I'm intrigued to see if people get burned out, and I'm intrigued to see, kind of what wins the war. But I think the best thing about it is that it's just fun. I think it's fun for wrestling fans, and I think that's something that maybe we've missed over the last, maybe in the last year. Maybe that's being a bit extreme, I don't know. But I'm certainly intrigued to see where it's going to go. And the cool thing is, again, like I say, we're fans. You don't have to, it's interesting to see which each show does. But as long as you actually enjoy start to finish, that's it. That's all that matters. Like, nothing else actually comes into play. If you're enjoying your wrestling, you don't really have to think about it outside of that. You mentioned you went to All Out too. It's a funny thing, All Out, because in the aftermath, so many people came out and said, well, I don't think it was the best AEW show I've been to. Again, maybe the bubble has burst and all this. And I was like, man, it was just a decent show. Not everything has to be the best show you've ever seen in your life. You can just watch a relatively enjoyable pay-per-view and leave it there. But how was it live, man? I know we're going back in time again, but I do think it ties into the general consensus about AEW at the moment.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty fun thing. I did enjoy SummerSlam more. Now that might be because I knew about all the storylines and everything, and that obviously helps. But it was a pretty fun thing. I'm so used to like the WWE style of wrestling that I did find it a bit weird. I do think some of the matches have a little are just the spot fest, which some people like to argue that. Which I think it was the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks. It was a great match,
crazy.
But some of the things, it was just he's standing right in front of you. You're not even punching him or doing something. You're just looking at him and then climbing the ladder and doing something amazing, which it looks amazing, but it's I don't know. Some of that stuff Some of that stuff just didn't fit with what I like in my wrestling.
Yeah, dude, it's fine, man. There's nothing wrong with that.
And, yeah, even if I compare to the NXT thing last night, I don't know if you saw that Buddy Murphy tweet.
With the pile driver, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because they did the Canadian Destroyer from the second rope, which is and he kicked out. So it was I don't know if you want to get all that. I don't know what type of wrestling you like, but that's what's good about AEW. That's what's good about WWE right now. That whatever type of wrestling you like, you have a choice. It's not going to be that I just have to watch Randy Orton's 10 minutes of rest holds, or I have to watch 10 million flips. You have the choice. That's what's probably the best thing.
And I think as well, with the, with AEW, we have to see what they're going to do when they get TV, right? Because even I know the BTE is always being the elite is always going to be a thing, but you have to figure when they've got TV, maybe those spot fest matches make more sense, right? I don't know, because the characters will be fleshed out more. We'll know who everybody is. They won't just be having random matches. That's why I think TV is so important, and why I like the fact they're only having 4 pay-per-views a year. That's my biggest highlight of AEW is that, because I can't believe that next week we get Raw, we get SmackDown, we get AEW and everything else, and then like you said, 2 days after that we get Hell in a Cell, and I'm like, geez, man, that's a crazy, a crazy amount of content. And I understand that WWE has their schedule, and maybe when they put it together they weren't sure they were going to debut on Fox or whatever, but still, it doesn't take away from it being a crazy amount of stuff. But choice is key. That's you hit the nail on the head. Choice is key, and like I said, for me personally, some of the spot fest things weren't the best, but I get it in 2 different ways. If you on the pre-show,
I think it was Private Party versus I'm not even sure. I think it was Best Friends. I'm not even sure. But that match, it was a spot fest, and I think that's totally fine because it's the pre-show. You're basically showing off what's gonna happen on the show. So you just want the best spots. You don't really want a 20-minute slow match or whatever. That's a good thing that you want people to enjoy that and then buy the actual show. But on the actual show, I do think it was some of the matches were a little too much of the spots. And it was funny to me though, the one thing that they were all saying that we want like proper wrestling, and some of the people on AEW did criticize like sports entertainment and like what WWE does, but that Cody versus Shawn Spears match was pure sports entertainment, and it was probably like the funnest thing I watched the whole night.
So what was that?
The Cody versus Shawn Spears match.
Oh right,
it was basically because of everything that happened, and then Arn Anderson coming at the end. Like it was a sports entertainment match, but that was probably the most entertaining thing I watched that night.
That's why I like it though. That's why Cody Rhodes are my favorite matches. They feel old school. They've always got a story, and they're always a bit ridiculous in a good way. That's why I totally agree with you. He is my favorite guy in AEW right now in terms of the matches he has decided to do. And I love the Young Bucks stuff and everything else they've got going on. But no, absolutely. When Cody does that stuff, I'm like, man, this is the wrestling that it's like WWE. I remember when I was a kid. Yeah, and it's just so dumb, and it's just so fun, and that's
you can just feel that he gets it. Like he gets what the people want, and that's why he's like kind of the perfect guy if you're looking for a wrestler to be at the top of a company. I think that's why he's like one of the most like perfect people to do that.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Like he is. I just like Cody Rhodes, and I know he's getting it in the neck right now because he made that comment about AEW's UK deal is better than WWE's deal, and I think he's learnt a valuable lesson there that until contracts are signed, maybe don't say anything. maybe wait and see, because getting a TV deal even today is really, really difficult. Even though people want more content, you never know what's going to happen. So, but look, I think Cody's built up enough goodwill that we can hopefully assume it was just a one and done. He made a mistake. And let's see what happens too. Like you said, I think they're negotiating the Canada deal right now to the point that it may even get announced before Wednesday. I mean, it's very last minute, but at the same time, it just, I don't know. It's very late. It's very late. I will say that. It is very late.
The Canada thing is really weird because like WWE, obviously, they did the same thing with NXT. Like they just did basically US gets it on USA, and then the next day everybody gets it on WWE Network, which is the same thing in Canada. And it's weird. There's a channel, Sportsnet, which airs all of WWE, but it's like their schedule is so weird. They're showing they have like this pre-show of SmackDown from Sportsnet, which is just Santino Morella's on it, and like a few old wrestlers
find that funny.
and an old referee. He's on it. They basically, it's not a kayfabe show. It's like they're talking about storylines, and they're talking about like what's going on.
Right.
They go over like what's happening on Raw and like what you should expect for SmackDown. So on Friday, they basically made it like an all WWE night. Like they're showing that show, and then they're showing NXT, and then they're showing SmackDown.
Jeez,
But it's still weird because it's NXT's coming on a Friday when you can just watch it on the network on Thursday. So it's just really weird what they're doing.
Really, everything's really weird. And of course, the other thing we should talk about as well that broke earlier, well, on the day we're recording this, it broke earlier, is that the sort of the new Talking Smack show for FS1's been announced. It's going to have Renee Young hosting it alongside Booker T, but it also means I think it's going to air Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm not good with American times, but yeah, obviously on FS1, so not Fox proper. But also it does mean it's the end of Renee Young on commentary, or at least that's the rumor. That's not been confirmed by WWE. That's what some of the websites are reporting. But as of now, actually, maybe Renee Young did. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure it's true, but the show is definitely confirmed. What do you think about that, man? Because Renee Young's always seemed to have a hard time ever since she joined the commentary booth. I mean, I thought she was fine. I didn't think she was any worse than, the commentary we have in 2019, which, of course, is very stilted and marketing heavy and social heavy, but I just get used to it after a while. Doesn't mean I like it, but I certainly don't think that she was a detriment to it, man. But I love the fact we're getting this show. I love Talking Smack. I thought Talking Smack was a wonderful venture to get you more interested in the stories and do things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, man? And what do you think about Renee Young potentially not being on commentary?
Yeah, well, first of all, if it's at 11 o'clock, it's really weird. I don't know what's going on then with 205 Live or whatever, because
oh man, tell me about it. Dude.
if it's SmackDown still a 2-hour show, then it ends at 10 o'clock, and then I really don't know what's going on with that. But with Renee Young, I think this is like probably the best move. I wasn't like that big of a fan of her on commentary. I didn't think she was horrible. I do think the fact that she was with Corey, I hated the Corey Graves, Renee Young, like that dynamic between those two. She was going at him and then he would knock her down, and Michael Cole was just awkwardly talking there. That's what I didn't like. I don't know how she would be if it was just her and Cole or something like that. I prefer the 2-man booth way more. I think the third person is basically useless. So whoever's thrown in that third role, whether it was Booker T or Renee Young or Byron Saxton, I think like it's really pointless. So I do think this is the best thing for her, because as like a backstage interviewer or when she did Talking Smack, like this is what she's like amazing at. And I think even if she went on to like a different network, like if she worked at like ESPN or NBC or something like that as like a football or basketball or something like that host, I think she would be really good at it. And I think this is probably the best thing for her. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole commentary team. Obviously that rumor with Michael Cole going to SmackDown. But I think this is the best thing for her. And Booker T's, I think he's going to be on it too, which is pretty funny.
He's great. He's nuts, but he's great, right? Like you wouldn't say that he's not entertaining, funny. Right? So I'm all right with it. He says ridiculous things, but he says it with so much, he believes in what he says. So
yeah, if you compare it to like what it could have been with what like the pre-show is with Coachman and Charlie Caruso and just like them, I think this is probably the best thing they did.
All right, it's called WWE Backstage as well, if anybody cares. But no, I like the fact that we've got we've got these outside programs now that will be supporting SmackDown. I think it's the best way to build an audience. You don't just, look, that's why What Culture exists and all the other YouTube channels, because wrestling fans wanted content outside of just Raw SmackDown pay-per-view, Raw. They want these little things. And I think Renee Young is very good at that. Like you said, I think she's really good at it in a backstage role. And I'm intrigued to see, what we do. But I am very excited for next week. I can't quite fathom where, like you say, in a week and a couple of days' time, we're going to have a much better sort of idea of what the landscape is going to be in not just WWE. I still can't believe there's a rival show this big. Like I've been watching and doing Ups and Downs, for example, for so long. The fact that we actually have another show, and I don't know people, Miller, you should Ups and Downs Impact. I'd love to do Ups and Downs for Impact, but here's the truth. People don't watch it. I'm not trying to be horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be horrible, but it's a business at the end of the day, YouTube, and if people aren't watching the content, you're like, well, it's a waste of our time. Whereas at the moment, the number one Ups and Downs video ever is I get confused. I think it was Double or Nothing when John Moxley debuted, right? That's the number one. That is the number one because that's the interest there was to the point we got a TV show. And when you look at all the metrics, you're like, well, we've got to do Ups and Downs for that because people really care. And, as a guy that was around for WWF versus WCW, because I'm an old man, the fact that we've actually got here again, basically 20 years later, it's kind of crazy to me. It's exciting, but it's also kind of crazy.
It's crazy. And honestly, in my opinion, it might be even more interesting on the WWE side, like what they do with NXT, because they already kind of stacked it with like that main event. Obviously, you have that 6-man tag for AEW, but you have an NXT title match between Matt Riddle and Adam Cole,
and they're gonna have limited commercials as well, apparently, just to try and get people to tune in. Yeah,
I mean, I get how good all those AEW guys are, but that's a 6-man tag, and this is a main event for the NXT Championship with two guys who, especially Adam Cole, who has proven that he can put on like 5-star matches. And I do think this is the one situation where WWE is going to be like, or Triple H is going to be like, don't hold back. There's no point of holding back because the reason I think they put NXT head to head was they feel like it's kind of the same brand of wrestling. It's not the WWE, like the main roster is completely different. But if they can put on a AEW style match and do it better than AEW can do it, then that's like a huge statement that NXT is gonna make.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you as well. Like in terms of what a marquee match is, you know, I think it's going to be LAX that are teaming up with Jericho to take on the Golden Elite. But you know, if you've got Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole, where they could change the title too, you've got to assume that more people watch that, right? But this is the thing, we don't know.
And you never know because I watched the AEW, obviously the women's matches too, and the Battle Royal before, and I didn't think it was the best thing on the pre-show, the Casino Battle Royal. I just don't like that concept because there's no pop for a person that comes out, and sometimes you don't even know who it is if you're in the live crowd because they're just like 6 people coming out at the same time or something. It's really weird watching the Casino Battle Royal live, but that match has the potential to be good, the Nyla Rose match for the title, but in my opinion, I do feel that Shayna Baszler and Candice LeRae is going to be the better match. And I think they specifically put that women's match up there just to go head-to-head and show that like our women's wrestling is
they know
probably the best.
They know what they're
doing. Yeah, even the Fatal 4-Way, the number one contender match, which they started NXT with last week, which it was amazing. So they're going one-on-one with that. And then you have the Street Profits Undisputed Era, which has been great every time they fought. And then the thing with WWE is that you never know. They might stick a main roster star on there and everybody's going to have to tune in. Like if they randomly say that like Seth Rollins is coming up or Roman Reigns or even somebody smaller like a Kevin Owens or something like that, it pops a huge like, oh, let me find that, let me go put that on. And AEW, obviously everybody, unless they have a huge debut or something, it's everybody knows who's there and it's not really anything unexpected is gonna happen.
What do you think is gonna happen with Kevin Owens? Because I heard a very disturbing theory today that was on that episode on Fox with the ladder match. What we're actually going to get is Shane McMahon will win, Kevin Owens will be fired, and then Kevin Owens will either be drafted to Raw or he'll go back to NXT. That scares me, my friend. It scares me a lot.
That scares me, but it's rumors everywhere. Because I just heard another rumor. I just heard something else today that said WWE has planned to Kevin Owens will win because Fox wants only real sports and they don't want these other characters that aren't wrestlers to be on TV.
That's a great shout as well. That's a really good shout, in fact.
So you never know what's gonna happen. Obviously, I think the crowd was honestly at SummerSlam. It was the loudest during that match. Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon. Now that was because Kevin Owens is Canadian, but it was also because everybody hated Shane McMahon with a passion. And I loved the finish with when the referee wasn't looking with the low blow and then all that, but it kind of led to like he didn't win cleanly and it's gonna be something more. Which if they're gonna they should have built this whole thing and ended it at SummerSlam, but he should win now, and the storyline should just be over. Kevin Owens would be great on NXT or something, but if you're factoring that in, then Shane McMahon is still on SmackDown when it's on Fox, and it's just really stupid. So I don't think Kevin Owens can lose because, like, if you think about it, a couple months back after Extreme Rules, before SummerSlam, he might have been like the biggest babyface in the company. And they kind of ruined what they did with him with all this like lawsuit stuff, with all this I'm fining you $100,000 and him caring so much. Like Stone Cold wouldn't have said, "Oh, my family needs this money," because like that kind of ruined everything that was going for him. Because if you think about before SummerSlam, he was getting the biggest pops. Everybody was loving his stunners, everything like that. And if you want him like to push him again, like as one of your top baby faces, I think doing it at this huge show, winning the ladder match is great. And it's kind of weird that we're talking about SmackDown like this because in a way this Friday SmackDown is bigger than Hell in a Cell. So
dude,
it's really weird what's going on.
Apparently nobody has bought tickets for Hell in a Cell either. I mean, how true that is, there's again reports, blah, blah, blah. But apparently the ticket sales are not being good at all. And I don't blame them as well, because look at the model WWE's embraced. I understand why. You go where the money is. But TV, I was having this chat with somebody earlier today. We all thought that come 2019, streaming services and on-demand were going to be the thing. Nope, TV. And in fact, TV now is more important than ever because, you pay $10 and you get the WWE Network, and sometimes you just happen to randomly get a pay-per-view. But it's all about what happens on Raw. And especially now on Fox, it's all about what happens on SmackDown. So we've entered a very different world.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know how they're going to fit all this stuff in 2 hours with all these commercials. And I thought, before, a couple months ago, I thought they would have been this is a special episode of SmackDown. We're going to bump it up to 3 hours or something like that.
I couldn't have handled it. I could not have handled it.
It's really weird because SmackDown, 2 hours with commercials, it goes to hour and a half or something. And even if you remember SmackDown 1000, which happened last year, right? SmackDown 1000 it was a pretty good show. You had all the stuff with Batista, Triple H, all that stuff. And then you had randomly, I don't know if you remember, but it was Rey Mysterio versus The Miz.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was Rey Mysterio's I think that was his return. And he just beat The Miz. And then right when that match finished, Undertaker came out and he said 3 words and the show just ended.
Yep.
Because they put so many things on the show and it was so hard for them. And I think the Batista segment went a little long, which you can't really blame him because it was an amazing segment. But when you're on TV, that time is so important. And they had nothing with the Undertaker segment. And that's what's really weird about this SmackDown with the Kofi match, the Shane match, the tag team, the 4 Horsewomen tag team match, and then you have all these legends Undertaker's confirmed for this, and then you never know who else is going to show up. I think Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are
on both shows
too.
On both shows, I don't get it.
It's so weird. I don't know how they're going to fit all this in. That's why when I did say that you might have a Brock rematch and he might beat him really quick, I don't know how you have 3 20-minute matches. You can't really do that. So one of them is probably going to be a squash, and you can't really have a ladder match squash. You can't really you can't squash one of the Horsewomen because they're all in title pictures. If you think about it, Brock might squash Kofi in about 3 minutes.
It wouldn't surprise me, man.
The Undertaker's entrance might be longer than the Brock Kofi.
I would say that if betting on such a thing was a thing, I wouldn't be against betting on it. I think you could be onto something. But look, if nothing else, it's going to be exciting. It all goes down next week. We will obviously talk about this as much as possible when we get there. And I know there's other companies we should talk about, but there's only so much time in a day. And again, I need a break sometimes for the amount of wrestling. I'm very lucky to do what I do, as I say, but I can't watch it all. I can't do it.
Yeah, I think the one stupid thing would be if they realize that they do have Hell in a Cell in a couple days, and somebody like the New Day does something and then it ends in a disqualification, and then they have a rematch, but Kofi's still the champion.
Yes.
Because that would, all the hype for Fox SmackDown would just die, and everybody would just say this is the same old thing.
Exactly. That's what
screwy finish. And
that's what we need to get away from. I really think this.
Yeah, that's why I do think if they do have a rematch, Brock should be the champion.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Yeah, exactly. If you want to do it again, do it because Kofi's pissed, right? That's not because we're going to change the bet on Fox. Just do it. Everyone loves title changes on TV. I know everybody hates Brock Lesnar. Well, I don't hate Brock Lesnar. We've talked about this before. I like Brock Lesnar, so deal with it. And on that note, that I've wound up the comments. I will run away. Basically, that's what I'm going to do. Man, Rafah, thank you so much for your patience, man, and thank you for supporting Patreon, and thanks for just coming on, dude. It's always a pleasure to chat to you. You've got good opinions. I appreciate them.
Thanks, man. It was really fun.
Oh, good. And we'll definitely get you back on now. The system is up and running again. Like I say, if you've heard this and you think, hey, I'd like to come join Simon Miller on his podcast, you can. Head over to patreon.com/SimonMiller316, or just smash the subscribe button on YouTube. You don't want to put any money in, that's fine as well. And what else can you do? You can follow me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. Same on Instagram. And I have merch. I always forget my wrestling merch. SimonMiller.BigCartel.com. I pimp Rafah. You got anything you want to pimp?
Yeah, sure. So it's my Instagram and Twitter is Raffaad23, RAFFAAD 23, and also if you guys want to check out my YouTube channel, it's RMENTV, and it's just like basically what I just talked about with AEW All Out SummerSlam. It's just like coverage from that, like different vlogs, showing things off.
Dude, tweet that to me and I'll retweet it as well. That sounds good. Send me
that would be great.
Yeah, that way people can find it that way too. That'd be awesome, man.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks so much, man.
Oh, no, dude. I'm all about sharing that love, dude. And you're a good guy and you've got interesting opinions. So hell yeah. So go do that again. If you want to just click it because it's easier, head on over to my Twitter and it will be on there. And that's it. We'll be back next week. We'll have more to my word. Next week we'll have about 700 episodes. But we'll be back next week. In the meantime, enjoy wrestling. Maybe get some rest before everything goes crazy. And yeah, thanks very much for listening.